What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. We've got some important things to talk about in this video. We're doing some rather pressing things in the price right now. If we look at the daily RSI, this is where it all starts, you guys. Daily time frame RSI, using a trend line to connect these lows, right? You can see here we found support, here we found support, here we found support, moved up each time rather immediately, and then this time it's a little bit different than any of those other circumstances that I've circled, right? Maybe you could make the argument that this is kind of comparable to this. Maybe you could make that argument. But I have a feeling that this is kind of different. And we have, in this trend, in this upward trend of the RSI, we have gotten pretty overbought. We have gotten not above the 90, but pretty close to it. Pretty developed in this uptrend. It might be time to break out of it to the downside. And if it is, that could imply that we see some kind of a form of a correction here, larger and more significant than anything that we've seen since the midway point of November, basically in like the last month. So if we were to correct from here, my assumption would be that we would break this trend line, okay, in the daily RSI. So watch for that. With how close we are to it now, let's just connect these lows here. You can see it's tipping this low, tipping that low, and that one. It did go, the RSI did go just a little bit lower here, but we're tipping it right now. We're actually like right at the line right now. I think if we close today below 98K, we're at 98.6K right now. If we close today, maybe not even at 98K exactly, but like 98.3, something just a little bit lower than we are now, will likely break this trend line. Now, can we break the trend line and then come back up through it the next day? Sure, we can. But if we break through the trend line and we get follow through the next day, likely we would see a prolonged correction that would last at least a week from here, if not more likely around 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, because today's the first day, right? So that's 1 day. I guess from now, we'd say, because it would be breaking out today. 2 weeks from now would put us in Christmas week, right? 14 days, that put us right before Christmas Eve. And then we could probably start moving up for our Santa Claus rally to finish the year. I think that we'd see a nice pump going into the end of the year and then moving up through January. I definitely do believe that we're going to see Bitcoin close this month well above 100K, probably even above 120K. And I think that prediction right now is easy to make. I think everybody's making that prediction. But whenever we have this correction take place over the next week and a half, probably, we're either back down at 90K, we're back down at 87K, maybe lower than that. When we're at either in this zone, probably, a lot of people are not going to expect that we're going to be at new highs relative to this price by the end of December. But I do expect full-heartedly that we will be at least above 120K by the end of this month. That's my prediction. So nothing's off as far as the bull cycle goes, right? We're just having a moment of a pause, potentially. It's not confirmed yet. We haven't. I'm talking as if we've broken out of this trend line, but we haven't actually broken it yet. I'm not drawing it the most perfect. Let's see. Let's try and get it right on. I mean, that's pretty close. Maybe I don't know what I was looking at earlier. Let's see. Get it right on. Right there, yeah. Maybe if we do close below 98K. Oh, we moved up a little bit. That's what it is. Okay, so like 98.3K, 98K, something like that. We close below there. We close below this trend line. We're probably going to go down, probably see a correction. If we bounce, like we have the other 2 times, or the other like 4 times, if we bounce, we can start getting some days to close in this overbought zone again. I would be under the impression that probably over the next week, we would see a nice move up beyond 110K and probably even beyond 120K. Where am I getting these numbers from? I'm not just pulling them out of my ass. I'll show you. The last time we bounced off the overbought zone, or this trend line, went to the overbought zone, we saw a higher high in the RSI, right, than any of these highs. So if we put a trend line over here, you can see, right, we've kind of got this nice trend going upwards, right? Just like here you went a little bit out of it, just like here you went a little bit out of it, but mainly following this trend upwards. If we were to go up from here, if we were to bounce and go up from here, likely we would see readings in the 90s, something that is a little bit higher than this. We'd see a stronger reading. This reading was the strongest reading in this whole slew here, and look at the move that we got from it, right? This was undeniably in our slew, in our uptrend here in the RSI, out of all this price action, the strongest move happened right here, right? So what I'm getting at, talking about 120K, if we were to see a bounce off of this trend line, the daily RSI trend line, if we were to bounce off this trend line and not break it, we could see 120K within the next week and a half before Christmas Eve. We would see that happen. And my reasoning for that is, again, measuring from the low here to the high of this last expansive move that we had, which is initiated by bouncing off of this trend line. So if we bounce off it now, maybe we see something comparable. Let's say we bounce off it today and we have this low in mind that we had a few days ago. That price, that same growth would take us to about 127K. And likely that would happen in a very short amount of time. Obviously, this would have us there by the 14th of December, but we haven't even moved up yet. So, maybe it'd be more like the 18th or the 20th. But that's all relying on a bounce here. And I wouldn't say that we can tell we've bounced off of this line until we're in the overbought zone. Because clearly getting above the 60, staying above the 60, all these readings that we had, it wasn't enough to confirm a bounce off of this line any of these times. So something to watch. All that to say, this RSI I think is going to be very crucial in guiding us in the coming days. It really is. So watch for that. If we close below 98K, probably like 98.4, 98.3K today in the next 20 hours, if we do that, likely we will correct. Likely this coming week, this new week that we just started, would be red. And my estimation, my prediction would be that we see prices around just below 90K, probably around 87 to 85K. That's my thoughts. Something at the bottom of this overall zone is my thoughts. I don't think that we would see a standard retracement from like the overall low to the high of this move. I don't think we would. We could, but I don't think we would. If we don't hold support at 85K, we'd likely go below 80K. So it's very important that we do hold 85K to 90K as support, but we might not even go there. It depends on what we do with today, of course. I think today and tomorrow will be very telling as far as that goes. If we look at the 4-hour RSI to end this video up real quick, we are more bullish than we are bearish, but we've got it's some weird price action here, guys, and that is not a friendly candle. That is really not a friendly candle right now that we're experiencing. It's a lot of volume. It's the most volume we've seen in a while, and it came in the form of a bearish candle to the downside. It feels kind of Bart-like up here. I have a feeling we're going to move down, guys. I really do. Time will tell. The shorter term stuff isn't really giving me anything. If anything, it looks better than it does worse. So that gives me hope that we could bounce. But just be aware, guys. If Bitcoin drops, let me tell you what's going on here. This is probably the most important part of the video, other than understanding why this daily RSI I think is going to be a very pressing issue for us over the coming days. Or maybe it'll be the saving grace. I don't think that it will be the saving grace, because if we were to bounce here, this is what that would mean, right? If we bounce here, we move up something like that. That means that it's right before Christmas and we top off. So we're not going to have a Santa Claus rally. We'll be dumping in Christmas week, and going into the end of December, we'd be selling off. That's not really characteristic of Bitcoin. Normally we pump going into the end of the year. Normally we pump going into Christmas week and exiting the year or exiting the month of December, going into January. We pump. That's normally what we do, especially in this kind of phase in the bull market. Not just any given December, but bull market Decembers, and then especially post-halving Decembers and election cycle Decembers. They normally finish off with a bang. They don't have a high and then sell off to end the month. That's not very characteristic. So that's why I don't think we're going to bounce off of here. But the important thing that I was going to say before I got off on a tangent there, before I did my weave, the Trump weave, right? The most important thing I think to take away from this would be the potential overall drop. And I really do think we'd see something go right to the bottom of this range. That makes the most sense to me, is that we would go like right to the bottom. So something of a 12% to a 14% drop is on the way for Bitcoin. That's my expectation at the moment. And it could be greater. It really could be. At the most, I think it'd go to like 77K. That'd be like a 21% drop from the current price. I don't know if I expect that, but it could. If we were to get a further drop, I would see that happening over a very short amount of time. If we were to get a more shallow drop, I would expect it to take slowly to get there, right? If that makes sense. If it happens fast and then we recover fast, that's great too. But again, I'm thinking 14% to 12% is what we're going to see for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin drops 14 to 12%, the average coin will probably drop more than that. So I would expect, at that rate, 24 to 30% drops across the board from any altcoin's current price. That doesn't mean every altcoin's going to drop, every meme coin's going to drop, but most of the market on average, I think over the next week and a half to 2 weeks, will have a substantial drop. So be prepared for that. That's what this is saying, right? And it's a little preemptive. I will give it to you. I am a little bit preemptive. I could eat my words on this, and I would love to. I would love to so much, but I don't think I will. I think this is different than this. It's different than this. It's different than this. All of these circles here, all four of those circles look the exact same as far as like the behavior with this line goes. This is different. Different behavior potentially begets different results. And where I would expect we find support, again, I don't know if we go all the way to the oversold zone. If we do, we probably get a more nasty move to the downside. But I would think instead we probably find support off the 40, and then we start to move up. So really, regardless of where the price is, I think if we pay attention to the RSIs, as long as we're around this 40 area, that might tell us that we're at our low. We're probably going to start moving up going into the end of the month, and then blah, blah, blah. The rest is history. I got nothing else to say. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. There's one more thing that I'll do, actually, while we're still here, but before you guys go. If we look here, we can see that we got overbought, right? And whenever you pulled back here, you got close to your oversold zone. But where'd you bounce? Right around the 40. You bounced right around the 40. And then you went up, and then you really sold off, right? And that was a really heavy sell-off, and what happened? You got oversold. So, again, bigger sell-off with the oversold readings. We don't want to get oversold because that means we sell off more. But here, this is the beginning of the bull cycle, okay? I'll zoom it out so you can see what I'm talking about. That's the very beginning of the bull cycle there, right? This is November, December 2022, very beginning of this current bull cycle that we're in. It was back here. So, very beginning move, getting overbought here. Pulled all the way back to the green line, something to note, I guess, and then got oversold, right? And then we moved up higher. Got overbought again. Where did the RSI find support here? It actually found support just above the oversold zone, so something to consider as well, that we could find support. And again, right around the green line, but just below it this time. Moved up, came down. We found our lows below the green line, oversold this time. Something to take into consideration, right? Oversold one time, not oversold the next time. Oversold the next time, maybe this time we won't get oversold. Hey, wouldn't you know it? We didn't get oversold here. Didn't get oversold, but bounced right off of it, right off that area. And we got close to the green line, but didn't quite get there. That's the only time we didn't quite get there, and then just moved on up, right? At that point, we did find support on our RSI around the 40 a few times, but this was the beginning of a very long consolidation phase. So if we look here, knowing what we know now, or going over that brief history at least, it's completely reasonable to assume that we could find support off of the 40, though that's probably the least likely thing to happen. The most likely thing to happen would be that we do go all the way around the oversold zone, if not into the oversold zone. We'll either bounce right just above it, kind of like we did right here, or we will go into it. If we go into it, I would expect a more dramatic move, something that does take us below 85K, in which case all coins are going to see a bigger drop than what I'm illuminating now. But if we bounce off the 40, or we see something that kind of slowly grinds down to that oversold zone but bounces off of it, we really could hold this mid 80K to 90K area, at least the 80K zone itself. There was something that I wanted to say that I'm drawing a blank on to tie some of this stuff together. What was it? Oh, right, the green line. The green line. Because every time we came down and we found our lows, once was right at the green line. This one was right below the green line. We found our lows here below the green line as well, just above the green line, but all pretty close to the green line, right? Even whenever we're moving down, you found support on it, and then you started finding resistance just above it, if not right at it, right? That's where you found your highs. So I think we could run with this green line potentially, moving up at the pace that it's moving up. Who knows? And you're moving down. We could find support like literally right at it. And at this rate, actually, that'd be very late December. So maybe we see an attempt just like this, where we reach for the green line, but we don't quite get there. How far away was it at that point in time? It was like 4% away from the green line. I don't know, what would that be 4% away? Basically be like 4% away if it were to move up. No, it wouldn't. I don't know. It would have to be a pretty substantial bit away from the green line. I don't know, man. Maybe what this is telling us, and it's not the most perfect thing because I'm projecting out without using math, so it's not a perfect projection. I'm just literally eyeballing what I think the green line will do, trying to like trace it and guess where it's going to go. And maybe it goes up that high. Maybe it's like this. I don't know. But where this pulls back to, maybe it does go to the green line. And that would be just below 80K, actually. Probably. Maybe. Let's see. Is there reasons for that? Would that make sense? Let's do this. High to low. I mean, there's no fibs there. It wouldn't make sense to me. So we probably don't interact at the green line. That's my final thing. Sorry, that was a little bit of a waste of time, I guess. Something to consider. We could pull all the way back down to it, but I wouldn't think if we pulled back to it that we'd pull back to it here. I would think that it takes some days, right? So if like we're moving down, this thing will move up. So around 80K is my best guess using that green line. But that's, I mean, we determined that in the first few minutes with this thing anyway. So anyways, guys, I'm done. I got nothing else to say. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.